So far in this chapter, we've talked a game of theory. We've looked at calibrating our monitors, even the backgrounds we're supposed to use, warming it up for a half hour before you use it. If you are serious about color, you should do those things. But let's begin getting practical here. I have the exercise files for this chapter in favorites. I talked about that in chapter 1, and here they are for me. Now, wherever you have them, that's fine, but I want you to open them up. Open up Banyat Golf. If you took the lessons that I did for Infinite Skills on Photoshop 5 training, you'll notice this is the same image. Now, I didn't do that just because I didn't want to spend the time finding a new image. I found out something that was interesting. When I manually adjusted this image to practice in CS6, the settings that I used to achieve the same results were different. Photoshop has changed the engine that interprets color. Now, that's no big deal in terms of everything else. Curves and levels and everything works fine. But when you're manually correcting an image, basically it's different. Different in how much green, blue, whatever it is I'm going to use, there were different settings. That kind of interests me. Anyway, I've got the image divided up into two, so we can kind of see a before and an after. If you're using this and following along with me, make sure you have right selected. Then go to this button right here, which is of course for all our adjustments, and choose color balance right there. Now it's going to place it between these two, which means the changes that we see, we can look at the original on the left and look at the changes on the right, because adjustments work down, they don't work up. With that said, I know this image has too much blue in it, and I want to get rid of that blue. Now remember, we're working in the world of opposites. Blue and yellow are opposites, magenta and green are opposites, and red and cyan are opposites of each other. To get rid of blue, you add yellow. So we're going to come here. Now actually, I'm going to do it this way. You could drag it, that's fine. I'm going to get into this area, and I'm going to use the up and down arrow keys. To me, that just is a little bit easier to work with. So I'm going to come down, I'm going to run this down with my arrow keys, and we're going to go about there. Remember, the only reason I'm doing this is because this is where my eyes tell me it should be. We're not going by any kind of number system yet. We will get into that. I want to add more green. So I'm going to come up here and do the same thing with my arrow keys. And you can see how that's really starting to work. I think I'll run that to about a 20, maybe about a 19 on that too. For cyan and red, I don't really think we need to make much of a change, if at all, there. But let's go into highlights. And I think I'm going to knock a little bit more blue out of the highlights by giving myself a little bit of yellow, but not much. Something about like that. All right. Those settings are different than the ones I used in 5. Let's go ahead and close this down. We can see the difference, the on and off. And if we did choose now to go ahead and print this thing, we could move color balance as a unit and drag it up until you see that little line come up and let go, and there you've got the whole image together. Manually correcting an image in Adobe Photoshop requires a good eye for color and a calibrated system. But if you have that, go for it. On to the next.